The stars burned bright against the black void of space as the U.S. Defiant glided through the cosmic sea. Captain Alan Foster stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The massive shape of a Zolaxian battleship moved slowly past them, its hull covered in weapon systems that glowed with purple energy. "They never miss a chance to show off," said Olivia Rice, the tactical officer. Her fingers tapped across her console as she logged the Zolaxian ship's specifications. Alan nodded. That's their way. Everything is about power with them. For 50 years, the Zolaxian Empire had ruled the known galaxy. Their ships were bigger, their weapons stronger, and their will unquestioned. All other species served under them in what they called a mutually beneficial alliance. Everyone knew it was really just another word for control. Humans were newcomers to this galactic stage. Earth had developed faster than light travel only 15 years ago. When they joined the alliance, they were placed at the bottom tier, seen as weak and primitive by the other species. The Zolaxians particularly enjoyed looking down on humans. "Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command," said Kate Mitchell from the communications station. Her red hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her expression serious. "Put it through to my ready room," Alan replied, straightening his blue uniform jacket. Inside his private office, Admiral Jones appeared on the screen. Her face looked tired, the weight of Earth's diplomatic struggles clear in her eyes. "Captain Foster, your orders have changed. The Defiant is to proceed directly to Zolax Prime for the upcoming diplomatic summit." Alan frowned. "Sir, we're a mid-range exploration vessel. Wouldn't a diplomatic ship be more appropriate?" The Admiral shook her head. "All our dedicated diplomatic vessels are currently engaged elsewhere. Besides, the Zolaxians specifically requested a ship that represents our typical capabilities." "I understand, sir." And he did. The Zolaxians wanted to compare Earth's technology to their own. They wanted to see how far behind humans really were. "Your mission is simple but vital. Secure better trade terms for Earth. Our colonies need access to more resources, and right now we're getting the worst deals in the Alliance." "I'll do my best, Admiral." "I know you will." "And Foster, remember to smile and nod. We can't afford to upset them." "Not yet." After the call ended, Alan returned to the bridge. His senior staff looked at him expectantly. "Change of plans. We're heading to Zolax Prime for the diplomatic summit." Daniel Wright, the science officer, raised an eyebrow. "They're letting us attend the high-level talks. That's unusual." "Unusual but necessary," Greg Harper added from the engineering station. The stocky man wiped grease from his hands with a rag. "Earth needs those trade routes." Alan settled into his command chair. "Set course for Zolax Prime. Maximum speed." As the Defiant altered its trajectory, Alan studied his crew. They were some of Earth's finest, skilled, clever, and surprisingly calm given what they were about to face. The Zolaxians and other elder species of the Alliance saw humans as children playing at being spacefaring adults. Every meeting was filled with thinly veiled insults and dismissals. The ship accelerated to faster than light speed, the stars stretching into lines of light around them. 3 days to reach Zolax Prime. 3 days to prepare for a diplomatic battle where the odds were stacked against them. "Do you think they'll take us seriously this time?" Olivia asked quietly. Alan looked at the tactical display, showing the position of various Alliance fleets. The Zolaxian forces outnumbered all others combined. "They understand only one thing, Olivia: power. And in their eyes, we have none." He smiled slightly, but appearances can be deceiving. The Defiant continued its journey toward the heart of the Empire, a small human ship in a galaxy dominated by giants. No one in that vast cosmic sea could have guessed that this unassuming vessel would soon change everything. The U.S. Defiant dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a gentle shudder. Through the main view screen, Zolax Prime filled their vision. A massive planet with gleaming cities that could be seen even from orbit. Hundreds of ships circled the planet like hungry predators. Quite a welcome party, Alan said, standing from his command chair. Olivia, keep our defensive systems on standby, just in case. Yes, Captain, she replied, her eyes never leaving her console. Kate's voice cut through the tense silence. Captain, we're being hailed by Zalaxian Control. They're sending docking instructions. Alan straightened his uniform. Take us in, nice and easy. As the Defiant approached the massive space station that served as the diplomatic center, the crew could see the various ships of the Alliance. The Zalaxian warships were largest, their hulls covered in what looked like purple scales. The Viridian vessels were sleeker, built for speed rather than raw power. Then there were the dozens of smaller ships from the various client species. Our docking bay is at the far end of the station, Greg noted, looking at the approach vector. About as far from the main meeting halls as possible. Daniel nodded. Message received. Know your place, humans. The Defiant docked with a soft clang. Alan gathered his senior staff in the conference room. Remember, we're here to improve Earth's trade agreements. Be respectful, but firm. We deserve better than what we're getting. And if they laugh at us again, Olivia asked. Alan's jaw tightened. Then we smile and try again. The Zalaxian welcoming party waited at the airlock. Admiral Krasful stood a full head taller than Alan, his scaly purple skin gleaming under the station lights. 4 armed guards flanked him. Captain Foster, the Admiral said, his voice deep and rumbling. How good of Earth to send. What is this ship called again? The U.S. Defiant, Admiral. Alan replied evenly. Krasful's lipless mouth twisted into what might have been a smile. Yes, a fitting name for such a small vessel. Please, follow me. As they walked through the station corridors, delegations from other species watched them pass, some with curiosity, others with thinly veiled contempt. The main conference chamber was enormous, with seating arranged in tiers. The Zalaxians occupy the highest level, with the Viridians just below them. Alan's heart sank when he saw the human delegations assigned seats, at the very bottom, beside species that had joined the Alliance even more recently than Earth. Let me show you to your place, Krasful said, leading them to their seats. Thank you, Admiral, Alan replied, noticing the smirks from the other delegations. The summit began with tedious speeches about the strength of the Alliance. Alan noticed the Viridian delegation seemed tense, their leader, Chancellor Mox, repeatedly glaring at Krasful. During a brief recess, Kate moved closer to Alan. Captain, I'm picking up some odd communications between the Viridian ships. They seem agitated. Before Alan could respond, raised voices caught everyone's attention. Chancellor Mox was confronting Admiral Krasful in the center of the chamber. The Sirius sector belongs to the Viridian commonality. Mox shouted, his silver skin flushing blue with anger. Your mining operations there violate our territory. Krasful looked down at the smaller alien with amusement. The Sirius sector belongs to whoever has the strength to hold it, Chancellor. Do you wish to test your strength against the Empire? The room fell silent. Everyone knew what a confrontation between the two most powerful forces in the Alliance would mean. Alan stepped forward. If I may suggest, the Sirius sector contains several neutral colonies, including a human outpost. Perhaps a diplomatic solution. The human thinks he understands galactic politics. Krasful laughed, addressing the room. Tell me, Captain Foster, what would Earth do if real powers decided to go to war? Hide. Your people don't understand real power. The chamber filled with nervous laughter. Alan maintained his composure, though his hands clenched at his sides. We understand more than you might think, Admiral. Do you? Krasful leaned down, his face inches from Alan's. Then show us, human. Show us this power you claim to understand. The diplomatic chamber erupted into chaos after Chancellor Mox slammed his fist on the table. His silver skin had turned dark blue, a sign of extreme anger among Viridians. This summit is a waste of time. The Zalaxians never intended to negotiate in good faith, Mox shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. The Viridian delegation rose as one and marched toward the exit. Admiral Kraz Full watched them leave, his expression unconcerned. "Let them go," he said to the remaining delegates. "They will learn their place soon enough." Alan exchanged worried glances with his crew. Daniel leaned in close to him. "Captain, if the Viridians and Zalaxians start shooting at each other, the Sirius sector will become a war zone. And our colony is right in the middle of it," Olivia added quietly. The summit continued, but Alan could barely focus on the trade discussions. When they took another short break, he pulled his crew into a corner of the refreshment area. "Kate, can you get a secure channel to the human colony on Sirius IV?" he asked. She nodded. "I'll try, but there's a lot of communication interference right now." Greg frowned. "Interference or jamming?" "Hard to tell," Kate replied. "But I don't like it." Back on the Defiant, Kate managed to establish a weak connection to the human colony. The governor's face appeared on screen, pixelated, and breaking up. "Captain Foster, thank goodness. We're picking up massive fleet movements in our sector, both Zalaxian and Viridian ships air." The signal cut out briefly before returning. "Evacuate, but there's no time and no ships. We have 5,000 civilians here." "Stay calm, Governor. We'll contact Earth Command and request immediate assistance," Alan assured him. The transmission ended, and Alan immediately opened a channel to Admiral Krasful. The Zalaxian appeared on screen, looking irritated at the interruption. "What is it, Captain Foster?" "The summit resumes in 10 minutes. Admiral, we've received distress calls from the human colony in the Sirius sector. Both your ships and the Viridian fleet are moving into the area. We request permission to evacuate our civilians before any military engagement occurs." Krasful's expression didn't change. "Permission denied. The Sirius sector is now a military zone. No civilian ships allowed." "But Admiral, there are 5,000 human lives at risk. And there are millions of Zalaxian lives at stake in this conflict. Acceptable losses, Captain. Besides, when two real powers clash, lesser species must sometimes get out of the way." The screen went dark. Alan stood frozen for a moment, then turned to his crew. "He just condemned our people to death," Olivia said, her voice shaking with anger. "And he called it acceptable," Greg added, his fists clenched. Alan took a deep breath. "Kate, contact Earth Command. Let them know what's happening." Minutes later, the response came. Earth Command's message was brief and clear. "Maintain diplomatic presence. Do not intervene. Reinforcements too distant to assist in time. Regret losses." Alan stared at the message for a long time. His crew watched him, waiting. Finally, he looked up. "Greg, how long would it take us to reach Sirius IV at maximum speed?" Greg blinked in surprise. "About 12 hours, sir. But our orders." "I know our orders," Alan cut him off. He stood and faced his senior staff. "I also know that 5,000 human lives are about to be caught in a crossfire. Earth Command can't help them. The Zalaxians won't help them." "Sir," Daniel said carefully, "if we leave without permission, it would be seen as a direct challenge to Zalaxian authority." Alan nodded. "Yes, it would." "The Defiant is just one ship," Olivia said, "against two massive fleets." "One ship is all we have," Alan replied. He straightened his uniform and looked at each of his officers. "I'm going to the bridge to set course for Sirius IV. Anyone who feels this is too great a risk can stay behind on the station. I won't think less of you." For a moment, no one moved. Then Kate stood. "My sister lives on Sirius IV, Captain. I'm with you." One by one, the others stood. "Looks like we're all being defiant," Greg said with a grim smile. Alan nodded. Then let's go save our people. The U.S. Defiant slipped away from the docking port without requesting clearance. Alan stood on the bridge, watching as the massive space station grew smaller on the view screen. 10 seconds until they notice. Kate predicted from her station. She was wrong. It took only 7. Captain, Zolaxian Control is hailing us, she reported. They sound angry. Ignore them, Alan ordered. Greg, how soon can we jump to FTL? The engineer's fingers danced across his console. Engines are ready, but we're still inside the station's security zone. Their tractor beam's cold. Zolaxian cruiser moving to intercept. Olivia cut in. They're powering weapons. Alan gripped the arms of his chair. Full impulse power. Get us clear of their security zone. The Defiant surged forward, its engines glowing bright blue as it accelerated away from the station. The Zolaxian cruiser followed, gaining quickly. They're firing morning shots. Olivia reported as flashes of purple energy sailed past the ship. Kate, open a channel, Alan ordered. When she nodded, he spoke clearly. Zolaxian cruiser, this is Captain Alan Foster. We have a humanitarian emergency and must reach Sirius IV immediately. The response was immediate and cold. U.S. Defiant, return to dock, or we will disable your vessel and arrest your crew for defying Imperial orders. Ellen closed the channel with a quick gesture. Olivia, I need options. She studied her tactical display. The cruiser is faster and more heavily armed than we are, but a small smile appeared on her face. There's a dense asteroid field near the edge of their security zone. If we can reach it, we might lose them. Alan finished for her. Do it. The Defiant changed course sharply, heading toward a scattered field of spinning rocks. The Zolaxian cruiser adjusted to follow, still gaining. They're charging main weapons, Daniel warned. Greg looked up from his station. Captain, I think it's time we showed them something new. Ellen raised an eyebrow. The shield modifications. Greg nodded. They're not completely tested, but... Enemy firing. Olivia shouted. A massive purple beam struck the Defiant's rear shields. The ship shook violently, but the lights barely flickered. Shield status. Ellen asked. Holding at 92%, Greg reported, looking surprised despite himself. The new absorptive matrix is working better than expected. On the view screen, they could see the Zolaxian cruiser pause in apparent confusion. Their sensors would show that the Defiant had taken far less damage than it should have. They're firing again, Olivia warned. This time, the ship barely trembled when the beam hit. Shields holding at 87%, Greg announced proudly. And I've routed some of the absorbed energy to our propulsion systems. The Defiant suddenly surged forward with unexpected speed, leaving the surprised Zolaxian cruiser behind as they entered the asteroid field. Alan allowed himself a small smile. Nice work, everyone. Especially you, Greg. When were you going to tell me about these shield improvements? The engineer shrugged. Earth Command said to keep our best tech quiet. Showed just enough to be taken seriously, but not enough to be seen as a threat. Well, I think we just became a threat, Daniel observed as they weaved through the asteroids. The Zolaxian cruiser had slowed at the edge of the field, unwilling to risk high-speed navigation through the dangerous rocks. Captain, Kate called out, I'm picking up transmissions from Zolax Prime. They're scrambling additional ships to intercept us before we reach Sirius. Alen nodded grimly. I expected that. How long until we clear the asteroid field? 3 minutes, Olivia replied. Then we can jump to FTL. Daniel studied the long-range scanners. Sir, I'm detecting something unusual. There's a stellar phenomenon near our path to Sirius, a pulsar with an unusual radiation pattern. If we adjust our course slightly, we could use it to mask our approach. Alen considered this. Will it be dangerous? Not with our new shields, Greg said confidently, and it would give us a tactical advantage. Do it, Alan ordered. Let's show them what this small human ship can really do. As the Defiant cleared the asteroid field, it jumped to FTL, vanishing in a flash of light before the additional Zalaxian ships could arrive. Their course was set for Sirius IV, and a confrontation that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The U.S. Defiant dropped out of FTL near the pulsar, its shields glowing faintly from the radiation. Through the viewscreen, the crew could see the massive spinning star, shooting beams of energy into space like a lighthouse. "Status report," Alan ordered, his voice calm despite the tension in the air. "Shields holding at 82%, Greg reported. "The radiation is intense, but we're managing it." Daniel worked quickly at his science station. Long-range scans show both Zalaxian and Viridian fleets approaching Sirius IV. They'll be in weapons range of each other in approximately 2 hours. Ellen nodded. "And how long until we reach the colony?" 90 minutes if we push the engines," Greg answered. "Then we push the engines," Alan said firmly. "Olivia, what's our tactical situation?" The tactical officer frowned at her display. "Not good, Captain. I count 15 Zalaxian warships and 12 Viridian cruisers. Either fleet could destroy us with a single volley." Alan stood and walked to the center of the bridge. "We're not here to fight them. We're here to save the colonists." "And how exactly do we do that?" Kate asked. "Even if we reach Sirius IV, we can't evacuate 5,000 people on the Defiant." Alan smiled slightly. "No, we can't. But we can buy them time." He turned to Daniel. "What can you tell me about that pulsar?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "It's emitting a unique form of radiation, something I've never seen before. It seems to affect subspace communications and sensors. That's why we're using it to mask our approach." "Can we use it for more than just hiding?" Alan asked. Greg looked up, his eyes widening as he understood the captain's thinking. "You want to create a diversion using the pulsar's energy." "Exactly," Alan confirmed. "If we can't outgun them, we'll have to outthink them." For the next hour, the crew worked frantically to modify their systems. Greg reconfigured the shield emitters, while Daniel calculated precise coordinates for what they were about to attempt. When they finally emerged from FTL at the edge of the Sirius system, the situation was just as dire as they had feared. The human colony on Sirius IV sat directly between the approaching fleets. Neither side seemed concerned about the civilian population caught in the middle. "Both fleets have detected us," Kate announced. "They're ordering us to leave the area immediately." "Open a channel to both fleet commanders," Alan ordered. When the connection was established, Alan spoke clearly and confidently. "This is Captain Alan Foster of the U.S. Defiant. There are 5,000 civilians on Sirius IV. I am ordering both fleets to stand down and withdraw to a safe distance." The Zalaxian commander laughed on screen. "You dare to give orders, human? One small ship against our fleets. This is what happens when lesser species forget their place." The Viridian commander was equally dismissive. "Your bravery is noted, Captain, but misplaced. This conflict is beyond your understanding." Alan's expression remained calm. "Then allow me to help you understand something." He closed the channel and turned to his crew. "Are we ready?" Greg nodded. "The modified shield emitters are online. We can project the energy in a focused beam, just like we discussed. And I've calculated the exact frequency needed to interact with the pulsar radiation we absorbed," Daniel added. Alan took a deep breath. "Olivia, position us precisely between the fleets." The Defiant moved forward, a tiny ship between two massive armas. Both fleets continued their approach, seemingly unconcerned with the human vessel. "They're not slowing down," Kate warned. "They will," Alan said confidently. "Activate the graviton cascade." Greg pressed a sequence of commands into his console. The Defiant began to vibrate as energy collected around the ship. The shields glowed brighter and brighter until suddenly, a pulse of blue-white energy shot out in all directions. When it reached the front line of both fleets, something extraordinary happened. The ship slowed, then stopped completely, caught in a web of distorted space. What did we just do? Kate asked, staring at the screen. We created a localized gravitational distortion, Daniel explained, sounding impressed with their own handiwork, using the pulsar's radiation as a catalyst. Ellen nodded to Kate. Send this message on all frequencies. This is but a fraction of our capability. The next demonstration will not be so gentle. Silence filled the communication channels for several long seconds. The immobilized ships at the front of both fleets hung in space, their engines straining against the invisible force holding them in place. Admiral Kraz Full's face appeared on the main screen, his purple scales darkened with rage. What have you done, human? Release our ships immediately. I will release them when both fleets retreat to a safe distance from Sirius IV. Alan replied calmly. Chancellor Mox appeared on a split screen, his silver skin now pale with shock. This technology, it's impossible. Humans don't possess such capabilities. Alan smiled slightly. There are many things about humans that you don't know, Chancellor. The Admiral's eyes narrowed. Explain yourself, Foster. Now. Alan glanced at his crew, who nodded in silent agreement. The time for secrets was over. The U.S. Defiant is not a special ship, Admiral. It's actually a standard mid-range vessel in Earth's fleet. Disbelief showed clearly on both alien leaders' faces. When humanity joined the Alliance, Alan continued, we made a choice. We showed you only a fraction of our true capabilities. Impossible, Kraz Full growled. Our intelligence reports were exactly what we wanted you to see. Alan interrupted. Earth has fought wars among ourselves for thousands of years. Wars that nearly destroyed our planet several times. We learned something from that history. Daniel stepped forward. We learned that those who display their full power often become targets, or worse, they become bullies. Ellen nodded. We've been watching how the Zalaxian Empire treats lesser species. Your belief that might makes right. Your disregard for those you consider weak. You dare judge us? Kraz Full's voice rose in anger. If what you claim is true, then you've been lying to the entire Alliance. We've been cautious, Alan corrected. And with good reason, it seems. Your first instinct upon learning of our capabilities is anger, not respect. Kate's console beeped. Captain, I'm receiving transmissions from the immobilized ships. Their life support systems are unaffected, but they can't move or fire weapons. Good, Alan said. He turned back to the screen. Admiral, Chancellor, I'm sending you both historical records from Earth. I suggest you review them carefully. Greg transmitted the files, carefully selected clips showing humanity's most destructive conflicts, along with evidence of Earth's true technological capabilities. The bridge crew watched as both alien leaders' expressions changed from anger to shock, then to something approaching fear. Your species nearly destroyed itself multiple times, Mox said quietly, looking up from the data. Yes, Alan confirmed. And each time, we rebuilt. We grew stronger. We learned. You could have conquered half the galaxy with these weapons, Kraz Full said, his voice uncharacteristically subdued. Olivia spoke up. We could have. We chose not to. Alan leaned forward in his chair. We seek peace not because we're weak, Admiral. We seek peace because we know exactly what war costs. The Admiral was silent for a long moment. And now, what do you want? I want you to withdraw your fleets and leave the civilian populations in this sector alone, Alan said firmly. Then, we're going to renegotiate Earth's place in the Alliance. As equals, not subjects. Kraz Full's eyes narrowed. And if we refuse, then you'll learn how much more we've been hiding, Alan said simply. The graviton cascade is one of our older technologies. I'd prefer not to demonstrate our newer ones. The bluff was risky. The graviton cascade had pushed the Defiant's modified systems to their limits, but Alan kept his expression confident. After a tense silence, Chancellor Mox spoke. The Viridian fleet will withdraw to a safe distance. We request further diplomatic discussions. All eyes turned to Admiral Krasful. The Zolaxian leader's scaled face was unreadable, but his voice had lost its usual arrogance. The Empire does not respond well to threats, human. But we will withdraw. For now. As both leaders disappeared from the screen, the bridge crew of the Defiant allowed themselves to breathe again. They actually backed down, Kate said, sounding amazed. Daniel nodded. Fear is a powerful motivator. Alan shook his head. This isn't over. The Zolaxians won't forgive this humiliation easily. As if confirming his words, Olivia's console beeped urgently. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting a massive ship leaving Zolax Prime. It's the Annihilator. The crew fell silent. The Annihilator was the pride of the Zolaxian fleet, a dreadnought that had never been defeated in battle. How long until it reaches us? Alan asked quietly. 12 hours, Olivia replied. And sir, it's coming alone. The Defiant orbited Sirius IV, its crew working tirelessly to help the colonists. The graviton cascade had drained most of their power, leaving them vulnerable. But the immobilized alien ships were slowly being freed as the effect wore off, and both fleets had withdrawn to a safe distance as promised. Evacuation status? Alan asked, his voice showing signs of fatigue after hours without rest. We've moved about 800 people to the underground shelters, Kate reported. But that's not enough if serious fighting breaks out. Daniel looked up from his console. Captain, I've been analyzing our sensor data. The Annihilator isn't just big. It's carrying weapons we've never seen before. Elen rubbed his tired eyes. Estimated arrival time. 9 hours, Olivia answered grimly. Greg entered the bridge, his uniform stained with sweat. Captain, I've done everything I can to restore our systems. Shields are back to 60%, but we can't use the graviton cascade again. The emitters are fried. Elen nodded. We knew it was a one-time trick. He stood and addressed his crew. I want honest opinions. What are our options when the Annihilator arrives? Silence fell over the bridge. Finally, Olivia spoke. We can't outgun it. Running would mean abandoning the colony. And surrender isn't an option, Daniel added. They'll want to make an example of us. Kate's console beeped. Captain, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Ellen straightened his uniform. Put it through. Admiral Jones appeared on screen, her expression grave. Captain Foster, we've received your situation report. What you've done is either the bravest or the most foolish action in the history of human space exploration. Probably both, Admiral, Alan admitted. A hint of a smile crossed her face. The diplomatic corps is in chaos. The Zolaxian ambassadors are demanding explanations. Half the alliance is panicking. I take full responsibility for my actions, Alan said firmly. Admiral Jones nodded. As expected. Now, about the Annihilator. We have reinforcements en route to your position, but they won't arrive for at least 15 hours. Alan's heart sank. The Annihilator will be here in 9. I know. You'll have to handle the first contact alone. The Admiral leaned closer to the screen. Captain, what you're about to face is the most powerful warship in known space. Your orders are to protect the colony at all costs, but also to survive if possible. Earth can't afford to lose you or your crew. Understood, Admiral. One more thing, she added. Check your secure channel. Authorization code, Omega 7 Delta. The screen went dark. Alan moved to a private terminal and entered the code. His eyes widened as he read the classified information. When he returned to his chair, his crew watched him expectantly. Captain, Kate asked. Alan took a deep breath. It seems we're not as alone as we thought. The next 8 hours passed in tense preparation. The crew rested in shifts, repaired what systems they could, and helped coordinate the colony's defenses. When sensors detected the Annihilator entering the system, they were as ready as they could be. The Zolaxian dreadnought was enormous, easily 20 times the size of the Defiant. Its purple hull gleamed menacingly as it approached, weapons ports open and ready. "All hands to battle stations," Alan ordered calmly. The Defiant moved to position itself between the Annihilator and the colony. A transmission came through immediately. Supreme Commander Vorkath's face filled the screen. Unlike Admiral Krasthul, Vorkath was older. His scales faded to a lighter purple, but his eyes held cold intelligence. "U.S. Defiant," he said, his voice surprisingly soft. "I am authorized to accept your immediate surrender. Your crew will be imprisoned, but alive. Your captain will face trial for his actions. This is the only offer you will receive." Alan stood tall, his crew watching him. "Supreme Commander, I appreciate your offer, but I must decline." Vorkath's expression hardened. "Then you have chosen destruction. No single ship can stand against the Annihilator. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot protect you. Your bravery is admirable, but misplaced." Alan smiled slightly. "Perhaps, but there's something you should know about humans, Commander." "And what is that?" Vorkath asked. Alan's voice was calm and clear as he spoke the words that would be remembered throughout the galaxy for centuries to come. "We never fly alone." Supreme Commander Vorkath opened his mouth to respond, but stopped as his eyes moved to something on a screen off-camera. His expression changed from confidence to confusion. "What is this?" he demanded. "Where did they come from?" 3 ships suddenly appeared around the Annihilator, materializing from what seemed like empty space. They were smaller than the Zalaxian dreadnought, but larger than the Defiant, their sleek black hulls absorbing light rather than reflecting it. "Stealth technology," Daniel whispered on the Defiant's bridge. They were cloaked the entire time. Alan's smile grew wider. "Supreme Commander, allow me to introduce some friends you didn't see on your sensors." Vorkath's confusion turned to alarm as a 4th ship suddenly dropped out of FTL directly above the Annihilator. This vessel was massive, nearly matching the Zalaxian flagship in size. Its hull was bright silver, emblazoned with Earth's insignia. "This is Admiral Linda Choi of the U.S. Horizon," a calm female voice announced on all channels. "The Zalaxian vessel is surrounded and targeted. Power down your weapon systems immediately." The bridge crew of the Defiant cheered. The Horizon was Earth's true flagship, a vessel whose existence had been kept secret from the Alliance. Vorkath recovered quickly, his training evident. "This changes nothing. The Annihilator has never been defeated in battle. Your ships will burn along with the Defiant." Admiral Choi's voice remained calm. "Let me be clear, Commander. We are not here to fight. We are here to end this situation peacefully. But if you force our hand, we will respond with appropriate measures." The Annihilator's weapons turned toward the Horizon, energy building visibly. "They're preparing to fire," Olivia reported on the Defiant. "Admiral Choi," Alan warned. "They're not backing down." "I can see that, Captain Foster," Choi replied. "Stand by." The Annihilator fired, a massive beam of purple energy streaking toward the Horizon. Everyone on the Defiant's bridge held their breath. The beam struck the Horizon's shields and simply vanished. There was no explosion, no damage. The energy was simply absorbed. A stunned silence filled all communication channels. Admiral Choi spoke again. "That was unwise, Commander. Now, please observe." A small, almost delicate beam of blue light extended from the Horizon. It touched the Annihilator's main weapon array, and the entire section went dark. Systems across the dreadnought began shutting down, though life support remained functioning. What have you done?" Vorkath's voice had lost all its confidence. "A targeted electromagnetic pulse," Choi explained. "Non-lethal and temporary. Your systems will reset in approximately 6 hours." Elen watched with pride as the 3 smaller human ships moved into escort positions around the now powerless Annihilator. "Captain Foster," Admiral Choi said, "excellent work holding the line. The U.S. Defiant and her crew have done Earth proud today." The next several hours passed in a flurry of diplomatic communications. The Viridian and Zalaxian leaders were brought to the horizon for emergency talks. Alan and his senior staff were invited to join. When they entered the Horizon's conference room, they found Chancellor Mox and Admiral Kraz, Full already seated, both looking subdued. Admiral Choi gestured for them to sit. "Gentlemen, today marks a turning point in our alliance. Earth has kept its true capabilities hidden because we saw how power was being used in this galaxy. We chose restraint over dominance." "You deceived us," Krasful said, but there was little force behind his words now. "We protected ourselves," Choi corrected. "But now it's time for honesty and a new beginning." She activated a holographic display showing a new structure for the Alliance, one where all species had equal representation regardless of military strength. "True force isn't found in destruction," Alan said, looking directly at Krasful. "It's found in the choice not to destroy when you have that power." As the negotiations continued through the night, a new understanding began to form. The galaxy would never be the same, not because humanity had shown its might, but because it had shown a different way to use power. 3 days later, as the Defiant prepared to return to Earth, Alan stood on his bridge looking out at the stars. The horizon floated nearby, its presence a reminder of humanity's hidden strength. "Course laid in for Earth, Captain," Olivia reported. Alan nodded. "Take us home." As the Defiant jumped to FTL, Alan knew that the true victory wasn't in defeating the Annihilator. It was in changing how an entire galaxy understood power, not as the ability to destroy, but as the wisdom to know when not to.